The national headlines may say one thing, but the local stats here for Reno, Sparks, and Carson City in Northern Nevada are saying another here for the real estate market in Northern Nevada. I'm Garrett Stewart, and let's take a look to see what happened in November 2025. So first thing we're going to see is prices. We saw prices drop down from $595,000 to $590,000. So just a slight little drop. We actually saw that similar drop last year as well from October to November. So pretty similar to what we saw last year. Taking a look at our days to contract, and we can see that we did edge up an extra day from 35 days in October to 36 days from the time you put your home on the market to the day you get an offer accepted. Compare that to this time last year, we were at 31 days, so taking 5 days longer than the same time last year. Let's take a look at how fast they are moving in your price point. So we're looking at all the different price points you see at the bottom there, and we compare from November to October. And you can see that actually some of them went down. So look at that 400 to 500 and that 500 to 600 dropped down. And even that 1 million to 1.5 million dropped down as well. But one thing that really kicked it up a lot was that 1.5 million plus did have a jump quite a bit. Now, those outlying ones usually fluctuate a lot more because there's a lot less sales in that below 300,000 and below that or above that 1.5 million price point. So that's why we see stuff fluctuate a little bit more there. Taking a look at our sold new listings and inventory and kind of comparing where they're all out together, and you can see that 299 properties sold here in the Reno Sparks area for November. So compare that to how many new listings went on, and it was 300. So pretty comparable. Now you look at the past few months, and for most of them actually, the new listings were outpacing the sold. So we saw a lot less homes come on that market. So I mean, heck, even October we had 426 homes go on the market versus just 300 in November. Now this is typical for November, December. As we move into the holidays, we see things slow down a bit. Not as many people think, hey, it's getting cold, it's the holiday time, let's put our home on the market. So we're not seeing that as often. So that's a lot of this is seasonality. Now, the one thing to take note of, though, is inventory. You can see our inventory has been dropping since it peaked back in July at over 1,200 units or properties, single-family homes that were on the market. Now we're down to 845. Now, what I think is most fascinating is you look at that same time last year, and we were over 1,000 last year. So we've dropped over 150 homes from the same time last year on the market. That's giving a little bit more power to the sellers out there, surprisingly. So, and it's making the buyers a few less choices than they had the same time last year. So very interesting to see quite a decent drop from this time last year. Looking at our inventory by all the different price ranges, whether you're a seller looking to list at that price range or a buyer looking to purchase at that price range, how many homes are on the market in that price point? And you can see that same thing before. October is in the gray, November is in the white, and you can kind of see where those differences lie. And we saw that pretty much everything, actually everything did drop for inventory at all price points across the spectrum. Now looking at the month supply of inventory, now this is kind of our indicator of where the market's moving. Is it more buyer friendly or seller moving? Now, originally I thought this was going to edge downward more from the 2.5. We were edging downward. It actually went up to 2.8. So we'll get into that here shortly, but we did edge that up a little bit more, favoring buyers a little bit more. So usually when we see that inventory start to drop, we see that in months of inventory drop as well, but we did not. Now this is partially why. You look, and while we did see our pending sales drop from October to November, we didn't see it go as low as we did the previous year. So you see from last year went from 389 to 333. This time only went from 372 to 347. So we are higher. There was more homes that went pending in the month of in the month of October or in the month of November versus November of last year. So kind of interesting to see where those things are moving and how it's affecting our market. So we are still having decent activity out there, and with the lower inventory and people taking their homes off the market, it's going to be interesting to see what buyers are doing. But I have multiple buyers right now that are kind of just waiting for that right property to hit the market. Now let's dive into all the hyperlocal markets all around the northern Nevada area, starting with Reno. We saw that the prices did go up to $660,000 for last month. So we did see that edge up. Inventory came down a bit, and new listings dropped a bunch as well. So closed sales dropped a bunch as well. So just seeing kind of a lot of seasonality type stuff in there. Nothing too surprising on that one. For Sparks, we saw prices edge up month over month, and we saw inventory drop 24%, new listings dropped a little over 15%, and closed sales down 9.2%. So we saw everything still coming down a bit. Again, pretty typical though. Carson City though dropped 14% month over month. Now, a lot of this in Carson City is always a fun one because it has so many different areas in there with such a low amount of sales compared to some of these other markets. When you're only looking at 48 sales, you can have a couple of big properties or a couple of smaller properties that could really fluctuate these numbers more. And that's probably what happened. We see Carson City has always fluctuated a bit more, where even in the past it's surpassed what Reno was for median sales price. So what we're seeing now though is we saw it drop down 14%. More than likely, we'll see that recover for the month of December. We'll keep an eye on that though. But inventory dropped 19%. New listings dropped considerably, 48%. But we did see sales jump up from last month. Heading out to Fernley, $389,000 sales price, just barely went down just slightly with active inventory at 73 homes on the market. Only 23 properties sold out there. So that was quite a drop as well, 34% drop on solds. So again, that's one that can fluctuate a little bit more in that area. Heading south to Gardnerville, Minden areas, you see price jumped up a bit to $720,000. Active inventory of 147 properties on the market out there, and 49 properties sold. So we actually saw that jump up from this month or last month, as well as last year, quite the jump as well. So we're seeing a lot more activity in the Minden Gardnerville area. So very interesting out there. We're going to close out with the Reno Sparks condos and townhomes. Everything we've talked about has been single family homes. So let's just talk about the condos and townhomes. $305,000 sales price. We saw that drop down decently from last month. Active inventory, 265 properties on the market. We're seeing that come down, as well as the new listings, of course. 73 properties sold in November. So a lot of interesting stuff out there. If you are curious about the market, we have our newest market quarterly guide that just came out. If you are interested in it, text me or email me. My information's below, and I will get that to you so you can have a digital copy or a printed copy, and I'll make sure you have that. So check that out. If you have any other questions, reach out. Would love to be your resource here for Northern Nevada. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next month.